Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
The Christians today are open idolaters.
They insult Allah, saying that he has a son.
Very first problem I see in America, Christianity.
Do not take the Jews and Christians as your close friends. This is a command from Allah.
Let us take these lessons and teach it to our children. Teach them to hate everything about kufr.
Drawing the boundaries when dealing with the enemy, when dealing with the disbeliever. They overtake the disbelievers. يجاهدون في سبيل الله ولا يخافون لومة لائم. They fight in the path of Allah and they do not fear the headlines.
The question they raise is, why do Muslims hate us? Why are Muslims full of hate against the West or Christianity or Judaism or anything? The Quran tells us the truth.
In Islam, we do not resemble the non-Muslims, Jews, Christians, or anybody else. But you know what's the worst thing? Is to resemble someone who's your enemy.
The Crusaders, the Wasp, they failed. الصليبيين الحاقدين المجرمين وخونة حكام العرب والمسلمين اللهم احصهم عددا واقتلهم بددا.
Hey, so good afternoon. If you guys could just tell me if you can hear me, I want to make sure you can actually hear what I'm saying to you. So I'll be watching the comment. So I want to tell you a little bit about the last couple of days. This is the fraud forum, and that fraud forum basically is Juan O'Saban's. He had a bunch of people on the stage. If you haven't been able to watch it, you should go watch it. I spent a bunch of time with Tina Peters. She's across the room right now talking to the ex-prime minister of South Korea, who is also here to talk about the election fraud that exists in South Korea and what you have sound. Thank you. And to talk about the risks of what we're dealing with in the United States is not a United States problem. This is a global problem. This is a problem that's happening in nearly every country across the world, which should tell you everything you need to know. Now, they started it out with places like Mongolia, places like Romania, places like Serbia, Ukraine, where they stole elections using these machines, mail-in ballots at times, or just remanufactured the results out of thin air. And in large part, what they did in South Korea is they used the same systems and it made it impossible for people to get access to vote. Dr. Frank, who's also across the room right now, standing with them, and I want to show you where they are, but is standing with them right now, went there for 2 weeks, observed the entire process, the pre-process, the after process, and they knew at the time, they had enough information to know at the time that they were going to be stealing elections. Here's our problem. We are spending so much time trying to negotiate with the ridiculous. We spend even more time having to negotiate with what we know we can see right in front of us. So this, and I'm sorry if you can hear some of the other things that are happening around us. That's actually Tina's dog that's sitting with Apollo. So, yeah, interesting to go through. So I know we're talking a little bit about what's happened between the attack on Christians, but it's bigger than that. There's a concerted effort where Christians are left out. If you look at the Abrahamic faiths, you have Judaism on one side, you have Islam on the other, and then you have Christianity, which is truly, I mean, as a Christian, it's the only true religion. It's the only religion that's based on the principles of Jesus. And I do want to say this, and so you guys all understand this. If that's not true, then why is even the time that we're in, the year that we're in, all based on Christianity, based on Jesus' birth, Jesus' death. So I want to play this, and this just shows you, and I'm going to tell you what I think. And some of you are not going to like it. Matter of fact, I can tell you right now, you're not going to like it. But this is the Austrian president that had this to say about joining in solidarity with Muslims. Go ahead and play it.
Jede Frau kann ein Kopftuch tragen. Und wenn das so weitergeht, und damit bin ich schon bei der nächsten Frage, bei dieser tatsächlich um sich greifenden Islamophobie, wird noch der Tag kommen, wo wir alle Frauen bitten müssen, ein Kopftuch zu tragen. Alle. Als Solidarität gegenüber jenen, die es aus religiösen.
So here's the problem. What he said is that in solidarity, that all women should wear headscarves in order to show solidarity, show a support for Islam, and then used another dog whistle. Look, you guys all know this about me. It's been a 6-year fight. And prior to the 6-year fight, I spent 8 years being building a beautiful business. And before that, I spent about 6.5 years in the Middle East and Africa, and negotiated in areas that many of you would never want to go, and lived and thrived in areas that you wouldn't want to go. But in that same time period, I started to learn about the two sides of the coin. That there is a diabolical side and there is a good people side. People that historically had grown up in that society, but that loved the Lord, that understood the teachings of the Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and I guess the thing that I'm starting to get to right now is that there's a concerted effort in order to create chaos. And that chaos is created by this extremism. That extremism is caused by extremism in the Muslim faith and the extremism in the Judea faith, right? So it's not Judeo-Christian values, it's Judea values, and a lot of this is based on the Talmud. And so when you have the places like the Talmud Institute out of New York, this is a teaching that have come to hate Christians, hate us for who we are. And you can start seeing in every other country this is happening as well. And I'm going to come back to this in a minute, but I want to show you this. This is a 13-year-old girl in the UK that has shared her experience with multiculturalism. Let's go ahead and play it.
14.
And you go to a local school?
Yeah.
Have you lived in this area all your life?
Yeah.
You're having problems at school. Can you just elaborate on the kind of problems that you're having?
Asian boys coming up to me and saying, I'm going to rape you, and if you don't go with me, I'm going to punch you in the face with a knuckle duster, and if you don't, give me a blowjob.
And this is happening at the school to several girls, is it? It's not an individual case?
No, it's happening to lots of girls.
Do you think the teachers and the authorities are aware of this?
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably aware that the Edge of the City programme focused on young girls like yourself who are being targeted by Asians to be groomed in this particular area. Do you think that was an accurate description of what is happening?
Yes.
Have you contacted the police regarding them threatening to rape you?
Yeah.
And what's the police response has been?
They said that they're going to look into it.
And that is it?
Yeah.
What's your teacher's response been?
Pupils are gonna get excluded for 15 school days.
Right, and that is it?
Yeah.
There's also the accusation that young Asian males are hanging outside schools in flash cars, basically intimidating young girls like yourself with threats. Is that the case?
Yeah.
And this is happening, what, once a week, twice a week?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
And the authorities know it's happening, but they're not doing anything about it? How do you feel when you're targeted by these people?
I feel intimidated by them and scared.
Imagine that. Imagine being a 13-year-old girl that has to deal with these threats. And I want to play this. This is Rob Schneider. He's talking about how Christianity has become the doormat for other religions. Let's go ahead and play it.
It's just, you got to follow the money. It's where the sports are getting their money, and who's going to complain the loudest. But I think this time MLB screwed up. I mean, MLB, remember, they didn't fine anybody for taking a knee. Remember that? So for Black Lives Matter, it's fine. But for Christians standing up for their deeply held religious beliefs is not okay. So I think Americans are sick of this, and I'm tired of like Christianity being the doormat for everybody else's beliefs to be stepped on us. And it's like, listen, I'm not against a gay pride, gay rights, but shoving it in your face, it's like, enough. You have to do this, otherwise you're a bigot. And look, I don't have to do anything. It doesn't make me a bigot. I mean, just like, I think it's about these people's beliefs have to be respected. It's like you can't make somebody bake something that they don't want to bake, whether it's a cake for a gay wedding. That's their particular right. The Supreme Court already won that. So I think Major League Baseball is in jeopardy here legally, and I think this is against their First Amendment rights for sure, and it's against the civil rights.
Are you on right now?
Yes.
Or sorry, I was just saying hi.
Hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. Yeah, so listen, what we're talking about is that you're seeing more and more people that are coming forward and talking about this. But the only reason that this happened is because we have fraudulent elections in all 50 states. It's not fraudulent elections in 10 states or 15 states, and we're not crazy. You're not looking at a bunch of crazy people here. What happened in South Korea, what we've seen happen in places like Australia and New Zealand. We know what happened in Mongolia. We know Eric Coomer was there for the elections in Mongolia when they were stolen. We know that Smartmatic was there as well. We know that the intellectual property that is inside of the Dominion machines was actually created by people like Eric Coomer. They're the ones that hold the patents. And as I go further down this line, we already have all the evidence. I stated that I was going to DC, that I was headed to DC on Sunday. And then my goal in being in DC is to meet with President Trump and to settle down all these different theories. There's hundreds of theories of how the elections were stolen. You have some people saying that it's paper ballots, that they're harvesting them. You have people like Scott Presler that are running around, not actually looking at the system architecture that we have to deal with every single day. The black box of the elections, that the mail-in ballots are the gas to the machine. And when we start talking about the gas to the machine, we have to talk about the machines themselves. See, the security of the machine should allow for us to make sure that every ballot is securely pushed against an individual voter, but that's not the case. And you can start seeing that they're not even hiding it anymore. In Colorado, for the primaries, you have two separate ballots. You have one that's a Republican ballot, one's a Democrat ballot, come in separate envelopes. There's no sort of security, and there's no way to identify and or to secure who actually filled out that ballot. And we have no idea what ballots actually got harvested, or even if they had a stack of 1,000 ballots. But here's what they tell us to do. Trust me, bro. Trust me. Let us handle it. We got this handled. But we can't trust them. Can't trust them in Colorado. We can't trust them in Kansas. Can't trust them in Texas. Can't trust what happened to Spencer Pratt in California. We saw it with our own eyes. No one had an appetite for Rahman. No one. No one had an appetite at all. And she got more ballots than Spencer Pratt. It's not even real. The elections are not even real. And in Virginia, we elected a CIA operative over a community organizer, a black Republican that's been involved in politics for over a decade. I mean, make it make sense to me. Yeah, the people of Virginia said, you know what? I can trust a CIA agent long before I can trust a woman because she's conservative and black, right? But it's never been about race. It's been about dog whistles. So I'm going to get to the one point that I think I need to push home with you really quickly. And we may or may not have Juan Untamed join us, depending on if he pops in. You just make sure you tell me, Damon, if he pops in. But I keep being told that I'm a violent person. Today on Facebook, someone said I was a Jew killer, right? And that, again, this anti-Semitic behavior has just gone way too far. So now the Christian Jew, the guy that has an interracial family, he started off that I'm a racist, then I became a homophobe, and now an Islamophobe now. I just might as well put it all together. And now I'm an anti-Semite because I called out Bibi Netanyahu for being the evil demon that he is. Because I called out the leadership in Colorado for being the evil demons that they are and separating them from the Jews and saying, listen, the Jews are being held hostage as well by this satanic group of people that has come in, and they want to mock it. You know why they mock it? You know why they block it? They block it because it's true. It's true. We went from the third safest community or state in the country in just 8 years. We're now the second most dangerous, not the third, the second most dangerous. And they put criminals out on the street while locking up people like Tina Peters for 9.5 years. This event that we have here today, you got David Clements, you got Tina Peters, who thank God she's out. But let's be honest. Tina Peters got out because a Democrat let her out. Because the pressure of looking at the dynamics between two of Polis's friends that were charged with a crime, the identical crime that they charged Tina with, those people got probation, community service, while Tina got 9.5 years in jail. And you look at the stuff with Jake Lang, and look, Jake, I don't want to talk about whether you like what Jake Lang's doing, because I don't. I don't think beating a Quran with bacon is good for anyone, right? You can shun what they've done without actually going to an extreme that they go to. Again, never become the very thing that you're fighting against. And yet we find ourselves in that unfortunate situation. So as we sit here and we talk through all the pieces and parts about what they did to Jake, they have $1 million bail. It's going to be a little bit of an unconventional podcast today because there's a lot going on. I'll kind of show it to you so you understand. In the green room, kind of see all the people that are here. That right there is that's the prime minister that you just saw walking past. It was the ex-prime minister of South Korea. And there's a guy over here named Tim Barton. Tim is from Texas. The SEC and the DOJ, literally without a trial, took $400 million from him. He'll be on next week as well. There's another gentleman that is fighting against the bonds happening in Texas. All of this happens because of stolen elections. It's all connected. In order for all of these things to happen in all 50 states and to have judges that are doing what they're doing, this rotted judiciary, you would have to have a centralized group of people that have the ability to affect the outcome of elections and elect very weak individuals that can be controlled by someone above it. Look, let's go back and look at Biden. The left literally argued that Joe Biden was a legitimate president, that he knew what he was doing. We knew he didn't know what he was doing. So everything that he did was one big mistake after another. He was an empty shell. And this is the guy that was running the country for 4 years. So who was really running the country for 4 years? And how did a guy like Joe Biden even become the nominee for the Democrats? How did that even happen? And after Joe Biden, it was Kamala Harris. This is a woman that literally put black men in prison past their time that they were to get out as the Attorney General of California. And no one had an appetite for her in California. How did she get elected? How did Spencer Pratt get pushed back in, or the mayor Bass be so popular, where when you walk down the street and talk to anyone in LA or anywhere else, they have no appetite for the woman. But yet she has a majority of the votes, followed by a woman that was relatively unknown, and Spencer Pratt that is off the charts in popularity in the area, and talking about the real things that affect people in the community, and he gets pushed off the ballot. You could have almost written the entire thing, easily written the entire thing. But we have no idea just how deep it goes, and we have no idea just how big and long those tentacles are. But we do know the elections are stolen. So let me get to this. I've been called everything. Islamophobe, anti-Semite, you name it, I've been called it. But I'm none of those things. And then they say, well, Joe, you call for violence. I was sitting here having a conversation with Tina, and I was like, Tina, I'm ready to go to battle. So let me just give it to you straight. I don't advocate for violence at all. I think violence will be necessary. I think what they've done to us is violence. I think, frankly, we're at that place right now where it's not going to be a civil war. I've talked to many people that are Democrats and Republicans. They all feel the same way. They all feel like they've been left behind. And you want to sit here and say that Joe calls for violence. Look, I can tell you right now, every dog whistle that's out there has been used against me. Every single one. I've been canceled from every platform. I have a trial in less than 30 days. where I get to go sit in a courtroom while a liar gets on the stand and says, I pinky swear I wasn't on a call. And oh, by the way, I didn't adversely affect the elections. But yet we have all this evidence that they've hidden in every other case that proves that Eric Coomer is directly involved in the stealing of elections. And let's even be more clear. It's not even the stealing of the elections. It's the fact that Eric Coomer went and testified at the grand jury in Georgia that saw President Trump be indicted in the state of Georgia. And in that testimony, he completely contradicted every other deposition that he gave. And it's not even the fact that he's a liar. It's that he's a liar at such a huge magnitude. Like he'd lie when the truth was better. And so we got to go through this charade. I got to have another deposition. I just had one last week with Eric Coomer. And I told his attorneys, I was like, listen, your client is going to jail. You are not stupid people. Why are you doing this? Why are we even in this room having this deposition? You know that your client moved out of the country for a reason. And it's not because he was in fear for his life. He wasn't in fear for his life. He was in fear for the day. And I pray that when Eric Coomer shows up for that trial, that is the day, literally when he walks in that courtroom, that they take him into custody and they charge him with the crimes that he committed. That is what I hope happens. And based on the information that we have, I pray that there are many, many, many other arrests that come in the wake of that as well. I want to put some things in perspective with stolen elections, though, which is really important. And this is my rant. It's my show today. I've been off for a couple of days. Got it? All right, thank you. Let's talk about let's talk about the outcome in 2024. I said something on an X post earlier, and that X post was that I can't stand Bannon. Bannon can't stand me either, right? I don't like Steve Bannon. I don't like him today. I didn't like him yesterday. I didn't like him 3-4 years ago. Remember, I read people for a living. I've worked in areas where I had to figure out, I wonder if they're going to try and kill me. I wonder if that's a real thing, right? But here's a guy that literally was neck and neck, thick as thieves with Epstein. Thick as thieves with him. It's easy for the Democrats to pick us apart because they have the media apparatus that protects them. But how do you protect a guy like Bannon? And furthermore, let's get past Bannon for a minute. Let's look at this movement that we've had over the last 6 years. We know why we're here 6 years later. There's no institutional maturity that exists in this movement. This movement of, hey, we want to get to free and fair elections. And there's enough CIA influences or chaos creators that are out there that they've stopped all of the progress that we could have had. Because just enough of it was proven to be false that they stand on it and say, well, we've been able to debunk that. And that's not even the reality. And all the people that are experts, institutional experts, have been left by the side. Robert Fuller. I mean, Jim, what's the guy's name up in Michigan that worked for CIA? It'll come to me. You have David Clements, which did an audit in New Mexico. We've got Ed Solomon. They're like, oh, Ed Solomon's a felon. I didn't know that felon stopped him from having hands that work or a brain that works. And actually, he was innovative. You want to know about Ed Solomon? Ed Solomon literally would drone drop cocaine to very wealthy people. That's how he got caught. He was in college. It was a way for him to make money. And before you say that, oh, he can't be an expert, the guy is literally a math genius. But they discount people based on just one credit. They pick people apart. Professor Clements you have people in this movement like Javon Pulitzer. Javon Pulitzer comes out and says, oh, I'm an expert. And he calls David Clements, they calls him a junior professor. Those are all people within our own movement. These are all people that say that they're here to help. And then they put some flamboyant thing out there and say, I lost $50 million. It's because we don't have institutional maturity. We don't have people that are actually headed in the same direction because we're really not in the same direction. And so over the last 6 years, we've had all the evidence. But like President Trump and Meet the Press, what happened in that? What happened in Meet the Press? You're sitting up there with Kristen. She says, show us the evidence. How in the world do you show the evidence in a 15-minute, 30, 45-minute, 1-hour segment? And they know that. And so you sit there and it's like, well, you can't show it. You can't show, but we do show it. And we do have the knowledge. But if you go, and in all fairness, if you go over Twitter, you look at all over Twitter, you can become bipolar, looking at all of the different theories behind how are the elections stolen in the United States. Some of it will be true, but some of it's just BS. Then you have organizations like Snoops and all these other organizations that use the words unfounded and say that that's proof that it doesn't exist. And then the common thing that they do is they say, well, it's been adjudicated and the judges have all found that there's no evidence. They've never even heard the evidence. And when they did hear the evidence, they walked past it, like they did in Arizona when you had the governor's race with Kerry Lake. And then we walked past stuff like the head of the GOP in Arizona offering Kerry Lake tens of millions of dollars to get out of the race. And by who? We don't even know that yet. And even when we had actual recordings, nothing happened. And I go back and I look at that view that I had, that board, and I go, okay, well, this makes perfect sense. It's the lawlessness that sits above this line, but there's so many people above that line that the weight on the American people is overbearing. We don't own our homes, we don't own our cars. These are the consequences of stolen elections. And if you want to call it communism, we're already there. So when I talk about, bringing you all the way back, when I talk about violence is the answer, it might be the only answer. It's not a civil war. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. It's not Democrats versus independents versus Republicans. And yeah, you have the retards in the middle that are retarded on the left. You have the retards that are retarded on the right, that are basically saying they play for teams and they do everything they can to destroy everything in front of them or to create doubt so that you can't ever see what's really going on in the murky waters. That's where we're at with. And frankly, this event that we have here settles it down. And yeah, there's probably, 800 people or so here. And I got to reconnect with people. When you hear Peter Tickton get up there on the stage, or you hear David Clements get up, or even the Prime Minister of South Korea, this is stuff that's real. And yet the mainstream media pays no attention to it. They have, and we want to say that the mainstream media has no power anymore. Well, let me just tell you why it does have power. Social media platforms, they literally censor with impunity. They can do whatever they want, covered in a veil that allows them to get whatever they want and do whatever they want. They get to pick and choose winners and losers. And right above the media or the social media companies is the media companies. So Fox, CNN. You don't see President Trump saying, hey, let's go sit down over here and have a conversation. He's not going to have a conversation with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is frankly worried about the stuff he can see, like the diabolical nature of Bibi Netanyahu. And President Trump talks about it, but it's always just cursory, take a step back, don't get too close to it, because it might actually burn you. Otherwise, he called an anti-Semite. Once you do that, no one's ever won an election, and no one's been able to retain power to ever win against that machine, because it basically has its claws in everything. That's not anti-Semitic, by the way. That's reality. President Trump negotiated a deal in Iran. Israel said, I'm still going to go into Lebanon and we're going to still occupy it. They do whatever they want. They act with impunity because, again, they're above the line of accountability. This is why we have we don't have free and fair elections. And they're run by a guy named George Soros. And George Soros is what? He's a synagogue of Satan Jew. Tell me he's not. Tell me the guy's not evil. But he hides behind the fact, well, I'm Jewish. And we're not even allowed to talk about it. Like the fact that I'm saying it right now is going to get me banned on every platform. And if not banned, it'll get me censored. But you got the social media platforms that get to decide winners and losers, because you got people inside the organizations. And then you got right above that, you got the media that basically blacked out this event that we're having here today. And we're talking about real things that are happening in our elections. So how do you win? You got the technocracy, you got big pharma, you're not allowed to criticize them. You have all of this qualified and unqualified immunity. And we sit here trying to figure out how we're going to get to the bottom of it. But we can't. We can't. Because 50% of the people that are sitting in this room, in the green room, in the speaker's room, 50% or more would sell their grandmother down the river just to soon look at it for $10, $100, 15 minutes on the stage. That's the reality of the country we live in. So let's walk through some other things. I'm going to skip over Juan because I don't see that he's in here right now. He might not be able to just because he's on the stage right now. I want to get to some of the other things. We're going to a commercial break. I'm going to see if I can get them. If I can't get them, we'll come back and we'll talk about some of the other things that are happening across the country related to the judiciary, related to just these crimes that are committed against the citizenry. We'll be right back.
Oh, hi, I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to DCF Buns, where you can find the freshest buns in town, if I do say so myself. Our master bakers teach class every week, so whether you're new to baking or trying to improve your culinary skills, we got you covered. And we can help you bake the cake of your dreams. We'll even clean your cake if you want. And if you don't want to bake anything yourself, we have loads of fresh buns available in a variety of shapes and sizes. Check us out at dcfbuns.com to learn more. DCF Buns, we keep the buns hot and the deals hotter. Buns.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Transgender mutilization, don't listen to this, kids, of your children, transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. When you have policies like that, you have to cheat. It's the only way they can win. And we shouldn't allow them to cheat. And we should terminate the filibuster, because if they get the chance, they'll do it in the first hour back.
So, Mr. President, thank you. When Iran is seeing...
So here we are. President Trump talking about the fact that we should terminate the filibuster. We should pass the SAVE Act. If we pass the SAVE Act, we'll put ourselves in a position. But it's John Thune. It's all these people that are Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. These are all people that are literally holding on to every bit of it. And by the way, they're on their way out. So you think these people care that they're destroying our country? They don't care. They could care less. They're on their last leg. Either that or they have a parachute and they could just go out and make $20 million in the stock market, insider trading. They create the winners and losers. And we end up being the ones that are losers.
I think he's on stage. I think he's another 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
I'm at a...
All right. I'm live right now. So yeah. Okay. Sorry, you can't actually sit in here without somebody coming to talk to you. All right, let's that was Jill. That's Juan's second, who they're up on stage now. Some of you have probably been watching what's happening here as well. I want to show you this. This is a California mother who labeled a domestic terrorist by a judge that she blew the whistle on for fraud and abuse in the schools. This is the weaponization against regular people. Go ahead and play it.
After making peaceful public comment at a Del Mar Union School District Board meeting, raising concerns of their fraud and abuse, I was subjected to a campaign of harassment and retaliation. JPA insurance attorneys Daniel Shenoff and Summerdale Sandro of FFF filed multiple restraining orders. They moved the hearings to Judge Richard S. Whitney, who has an undisclosed nonprofit at his beach house. Insiders include teachers union representatives, the SEIU, the district attorney's office, and insurance companies. In granting the orders, Judge Whitney labeled me a domestic terrorist. He described children as animals in the zoo and staff the zoo trainers. He told me that I have to move far away. The attorneys then sent subpoenas to my landlord. We started receiving false eviction notices in the mail addressed to my minor child. I responded to the unverified complaint, but the clerk silently removed my federal filings and in place entered a default judgment. On December 9th, sheriff's deputies came barging in through our front door. Third parties raided our 4-bedroom home and took everything. My minor child and I remain homeless without our cat and belongings to this day. These are institutional and constitutional thefts, the exact abuses that Attorney General Bondi ordered the FBI and DOJ to investigate. Yet when I called the FBI, they said this was a civil matter and hung up. The DOJ ghosted me. So I'm asking Congress and OIG to investigate these matters because these predators are harming children not only in San Diego, but all across the country. My name is Natalie Reich. I am a parent and I am not going anywhere until they are held accountable. Click on my link and see the proof yourself.
Okay, so this is where I get to the part where they want to say that I'm calling for violence. They want to say that somewhere along the line that they're working on it. I want to go back to 2024 in a minute, but I want to say this. What this woman is experiencing right now is what's happening in the judiciary across the entire country. They have immunity. Lawyers have immunity. Pharma has immunity. Congressmen have immunity. Everyone except for the people have immunity, which means we're subjected to the laws that they have, and they get to decide whether or not we can actually sue for a misgiving. And if we do have the ability to sue, then it has to be, well, does it rise to the level that you can spend $150,000 or $200,000 or more to defend your ability to have these rights? See, they're not rights, they're privileges if you have to literally go broke and be homeless in order to actually be adjudicated. And in most cases, it doesn't matter because the judges are so rotted to the core that you can't ever get to the bottom of it anyway. In other words, they'll outlast you. I've been in this deal with Coomer for 6 years. Now, that leads me to the last part of this that I think is really, really important. And but before I do that, I do want to talk to the people in Colorado specifically. There was a teacher in Denver that was fired. And go ahead and put it up if you would, please. This teacher was fired by the Denver Public Schools for incompetence and neglect of duty. Is now reportedly teaching English at Malley Drive Elementary School in North Columbus. And they did an investigation by Logan Smith revealed that Jennifer Honka was dismissed after a state investigation upheld serious student complaints. Check this out. You're not even going to believe this. So students were pressured to participate in skits where they were directed to kiss same-sex peers. Now this is an LG, whatever you want to call it, sicko, a groomer that did this in the schools. One student received a 0 grade for refusing to participate. Another attendance plummeted due to discomfort. Classroom featured a rule stating the answer is always yes, which is used to pressure students. State judge concluded Honka displayed a troubling pattern of poor judgment and acted recklessly. Take it down. This is a teacher that is teaching children, small children. And so I basically said to dads of North Glen, you need to run this teacher out. And I'm actually more speaking to any of the OG gang members that live in North Glen whose child might be in that environment. See, I think we're going to have some unlikely alliances. I think the people have been victimized. It's not necessarily Democrat, Republican, or independent. And stealing of election is not a partisan issue. It's the fact that they get to put whatever demons they want in positions of trust and authority, raise your taxes, steal your rights, and do anything and everything they want by picking winners and losers at every level. And in the middle of all that, they can just raise budgets. They can tax you to death. And they can literally put cameras on every corner. That's the America we live in today. Now, let me go back to 2024 and tell you what happened last night. So I had a meeting with a couple of people, and it's been discouraging, to say the least. I've been in this for 6 years. I've never seen such retarded people in my life as I've experienced over the last 6 years. Some of them, I mean, there's some great people. Some of the best people that I've ever come into contact with, I've met as a result of this. But there's others that I wonder, how in the world do you even fog a mirror? How are you even involved in this? And so I get discouraged when we're 6 years in, we got someone like John Thune that stands up there and says, I can't break the filibuster. Can't do that. If we do that, the left might use it against us. If you don't think that lickety split, they're going to do it the second that they get retained power again. And if we give them back the reins, our country is cooked. It's cooked. So as I said this to everyone and said, listen, I'm at that place right now where I can I put my hands in the air. Like, I've been off from the podcast for several days. And it's been the greatest couple days ever. And yeah, I had a 24-year anniversary. It's awesome. I got to go hang out with my wife. We went to Jackson Hole, went whitewater rafting, got to go hiking, got to spend some time together. But I really do now count the costs. And, I was talking to Tina and I was like, look, maybe it's just better that I take a step back. Maybe I just get out of this. Just go do business. Now, I'm 30 days away from a trial where I've been demonized. I've been attacked by people like Kyle Antifa Clark, with my own party. Lauren Boebert gets on TV and slanders me, right? Now, keep in mind, President Trump's she's captured. She's captured. Most of our elected leaders on both sides of the aisle are captured. We have some good ones. We have Scott Bottoms, obviously, but most of our leaders in this, and whatever state we're in, are just self-serving EBITs, people that do the bidding of someone that says, hey, this is what I want you to do. It's like a cartel. It's like a criminal enterprise. But then I was reminded yesterday, I was reminded about a few things. One, President Trump won in November of 2024. I want you to imagine what would have happened with President. Where would we be right now with a Kamala Harris presidency? Where would we be? And everyone's like, well, it's not affecting the people. It's not getting down to the people. Well, maybe. I don't necessarily think it isn't getting down to the people. It's just not, we can't feel it because we have all these outside influences. You got the Iranian war that raises gas prices. We really have been focused in on elections. And there's just a lot of pieces that have to be put into place. And frankly, you got to call out people like Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and John Thune and all these people that have really done harmful things to our communities. And now we can all see it. But where would we be if President Trump was not in the White House in 2024? So I had somebody come to me and said, Joe, I need you to pay attention to Q. I wanted to laugh. The thought of paying attention to Q, to me, is laughable. It is. It makes zero sense to me. 0 cents. There's some grand 12D chess move that we're actually making right now that leads us to a place where we're going to win. And so I sat down with Julie Donuts and David Clements, and they said, Joe, once you dive into this, then you'll start to see that there's pieces being put into place. And they said something to me that I thought was interesting. I said, Joe, you understand what's going on. Like, you could turn it off tomorrow. You could hit a button he could literally just squash it all. And many of the American people wouldn't be behind it because they wouldn't understand it. He said, but if you start looking at all the pieces that are put in place in the fight that we're in, it's a spiritual fight. And so I believe it is a spiritual fight. And so as they're sitting there, and I guess I'm being a little bit more, I'm trying to, this is my therapy. As I sat there and I listened, and I shook my head at just the cost, counting the cost of Tina Peters, counting the cost of many people that have been in this fight, and the differences in the sacrifices that were made. None any bigger than another. I would argue probably Tina Peters has been the biggest because she spent 20 months in prison. And if it wasn't for Jared Polis, I mean, President Trump pardoned her, which shows you how lawless it is. It should have taken care of everything. Then we had a DOJ that basically stood in the way of going in and taking Tina out. It took a Democrat to get her out. But if you really just look at things since 2024, we're actually in a much better place. President Trump is actually doing a lot of different things to actually get us across the finish line. But is Q true? Is Q true? Is Q true? I don't know. You tell me. I'm going to ask some comments. Is Q true? See if I can listen to you guys talk for a little bit. Here you go. Get this tape.
Yeah, 3, 4 boards, 21.
Yeah. Sorry, we don't have room for discouragement. It's life and death for our country.
So much going on.
And the good versus evil is bigger than just our country. Okay, so you think this is discouraging? You think what I'm doing now is discouraging? I'm actually working the problem with you. Let's get to the solution. And Jeff, that's why you don't have a podcast. That's why I do have a podcast. So, and this is why I don't want to do a podcast. You want to know why I don't want to do it? Because everyone's a critic. Everyone's got it all figured out. None of you have had, 600 days away from your family. I had, right? 600 flights, away from your family. And literally spending 200 days a year away from your family. I asked the question of whether or not it's true. Is Q true? So last night I stayed up for about 6 hours and I just dove in. And keep in mind, I wanted to sit and say, it's not true. I wanted to say that President Trump doesn't have a plan because I sat in that hotel room with Mayor Giuliani across from me, Christina Bobb, and all these people. I sat in there and they didn't have a plan. Maybe I look at it from the standpoint of just the raw talents that I have. And David's right. Like I can just go out and I fix things. I can use my hands to, but it's too big to fix. It is a spiritual fight. I was like, okay, I'm gonna dive into this. I'm gonna see what I can come up with. I'm gonna see what's true and what's not true. And here's what I came to. Ready? It's probably true. I thought that I could get to a place where I could say it's not true. But then you have to look at what President Trump's done and systematically how he stepped out there and said certain things. And it aligns. And maybe I don't believe in coincidence. He knows when he stood up at Meet the Press and she was talking about you don't have any evidence yet, and he took that thing off. He had enough. And I think that's the frustration that he was showing. Says, listen, we just got to move this along a little faster. And you'd be hard pressed not to think that it's not accelerating at a rocket pace right now. And the more, like I stepped nearly out of politics. I literally took the last 2.5 weeks off. And they can't get my name out of their mouth. Okay, they literally can't stop talking about me. And I haven't even said a word. I put 5 posts out for the last 2.5 weeks. So I truly believe that as I started diving into it and looking at the outcome, now, yeah, I believe that Coomer's going to prison. I believe that a lot of people are getting arrested. I think there are going to be military tribunals. All this stuff is true, right? I didn't associate that with Q until last night. So don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me when I say there's a little bit of truth in everything people do and say. And a large part of what I've experienced going through and looking at Q is it's true. Do with that what you want. I don't even know what that means. And I'm here with Juan and a bunch of other people. I've Patriot Street Fighter. I was having a conversation with him last night. It takes a lot for me to get to the place where I read, and anybody knows me knows I can read at an enormous rate. And I went down a rabbit hole for 6 hours. So 4 o'clock in the morning, going down a rabbit hole, trying to figure out if this is true, looking at timestamps and looking at what President Trump has accomplished. So with that said, I want to give you back hope. I want to give you back this ability to kind of get across the finish line. Sometimes everything's there for a season. And I was there for 6 years. I was there for my 6-year season. And sometimes you have to hand that baton off. Sometimes you have to change what part you play in the fight. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm praying about it, trying to figure out if that's true or not true. But there's a certain portion of me that just, I want a little bit of peace in my life. So I think President Trump's going to do it as necessary. I think we're going to be drawn to a place where ultimately, I think violence is going to be necessary. And for those of you that say, oh, Joe's calling for violence and he's talking about the synagogue of Satan again, and oh my gosh, it's anti-Semite because the ADL says it. No. We went over to another country and we killed 1 million people. We went to Iran. You think we walked in there with baskets of flowers, or we dropped bombs on their forehead to tell them you're not going to have a nuclear weapons? It was violent. Did Israel go into Lebanon and basically kumbaya and sit down with them? No. They bombed the hell out of that place. It wasn't even involved in it. They just said, but you're guilty by association. So every time we solve a problem in our country, we solve it with violence. And all of a sudden, we're not going to be able to fight against evil without using violence. I think it'll be short-lived. I think we know who our targets are. And there are targets. But if you think we're going to get out of this because we can talk ourselves out of it, we're not. We're not going to talk ourselves out of it. For anybody to think that that's true, that's absolute horseshit. You got to be prepared. You got to make sure that you're well armed. And frankly, when the time comes, we'll know exactly who the enemy is, right? But again, they want to say that, Joe, you call for violence. No, it's not a call for violence. It's a recognition that you can't fight against evil without violence. And if what I'm saying is wrong, then look at what is happening in Iran. Oh, it's okay. It's okay because we declared war on them. We declared war. We can talk about the violence that's committed by Antifa and the fact that it's a mostly peaceful summer, which they had in 2020 and 2021. We're seeing again re-emergence of it today. And it doesn't mean that I have to want violence. I mean, and I have a thirst for it. It's just a recognition that the only way that you're able to push off this evil is with violence. That's it. How do you deal with a teacher that goes in and makes your kids same sex kiss each other and saying yes is the only answer? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the outcome of what it does to your children?
Awesome.
How you doing? I'm on.
Yeah, if you want to text name and I'll save it.
How do you deal with it?
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. How do you deal with it?
pretty much all of them.
So I think I'm past the point where people say Joe calls for violence. Now, I call for accountability. But same way we call for accountability in Iran, same way we call for accountability in other countries. But we want to forgive them. We want to pick winners and losers, and we want to justify the behavior. Kind of like when I started this out talking about Bannon. Bannon was best friends with Epstein. Wanted to make him more likable. Had text messages that showed that he was working against the interests of President Trump. Now all of a sudden he's the savior for the right. And it's not just him, it's other people just like him. This is the part that fatigues me. And this is the part where I want to give you hope that, frankly, we're going to have to get in the gap. It's not over for us. There is a season to maybe take a deep breath, figure out what President Trump's going to do next,
Well, let's
grab it. Oh, do we want to show you or do we want to not show you?
Yeah, we can show you.
All right. For those of you who are wondering,
Hey, bro.
How you doing, brother?
Good, good. You had Tina on for a minute.
Yeah, she just went on.
Beautiful. And by the way, we didn't get a chance to get you on the schedule for this show. I've got one in September. I'd like to have you come up. You have a lot of information that was really unique to Colorado, but goes to the rest of the country. You willing to come on and show it?
Sure.
Part of this.
Sure.
Beautiful.
So now you actually can see Juan,
Well,
not the boots. He's got some beautiful boots on. Although I wore these boots just to compete against you on boots. So I don't know if you see those.
Oh, I love it.
You know what those are?
That looks like a croc.
Nope.
What is it?
That's pararaku. It's fish.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see it. Yeah, it's
The inside of the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, now that I think about it, I've seen that before, when I was in Colombia. So,
Yeah.
kind of fun thing, but
So popular deal. I mean, it seems like it went well.
well, we're still got quite a bit to go here yet. Still, I've got South Korean delegation here. I've
Yeah,
got
I had a
former
conversation with
president.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
President of South Korea. People have no clue how important South Korea's election situation, and of course the just most recent president going to prison for life over this, and then stuff in Brazil, South America, other countries. What we just had moments ago within the presentation is that the evidence we have related to Dominion, Smartmatic, Sequoia, all that, China was running out of thing, which I've said all the way along. But we now have the documentation that's going before grand juries right now. The president knows this. Believe me, it's coming like a freight train.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I said that it would be a nice present if they had Coomer arrested at the trial on July 20th. And I think that might be a possibility that happens either before that or during it, just based on information that I've gotten. You talk about the CCP being involved in the election fraud specific to Dominion voting system.
Yeah.
Right? But if we go back and we trace it all the way back, Smartmatic, they're under indictment right now. They were used in the LA runoff election or the primary for mayor of Los Angeles.
Well, hold on. So Smartmatic is used. It's California, or I shouldn't say California, but LA County's voting system, which they claim to have created their own vote counting system, machine software. It's a total lie. It's Smartmatic, and totally transparent. That's how you get a Marxist like
Karen Bass,
as mayor there in LA, who went to all the Castro meetings. And by the way, think about this. Karen Bass goes and listens to Castro in Cuba numerous times, worships him. He's a god. Okay. Loves his brother Raul. Who was running Venezuela? Really? It was Cuba. Cuba was running Venezuela. And so all of the leadership, when we went in and picked up Maduro, all of the protectors, the military and
commandos from Cuba,
were from Cuba
and Honduras,
and they were remote controlling Venezuela. Venezuela is a country about the size of Alaska. It's a huge country. People have no concept.
Yeah.
And China was using like a branch office.
Well, 18% of the known oil reserves across the world are in Venezuela.
Yeah. We don't need the Venezuelan oil. We have so much oil here in America. If we just get the politicians out of the way, let's go get our own oil. We're, as far as clean, that's all the roots. We can take the oil very, very cleanly, better than any place. Literally, we just need the bullshit out of the way. For example, up in Alaska, a postage stamp on a football field. That's how big the area is that they wanted to get the oil in their top pipeline. And politicians stopped them so they could make sure that the money went to places like Venezuela, where it then went to the cartels and went to China. So when you think the fact that they wanted to shut down one of the greatest technological marvels on the planet, the Alaska pipeline, they have to pump oil back and forth up the pipeline just to keep it from corroding. Not pumping oil to get it out to the fire, just pumping oil back and forth to keep it from corroding, because they got to keep something in there running at 15% of capacity or less. There's no reason, there's no logic behind that. There's plenty of oil right there. So American workers, American technology take care of. Then, as far as the election machines, on what planet, on what basis do we have to get companies out of Canada, companies out of Venezuela, with software programs and servers out of China to handle our elections? We don't have American technology and people to be able to do it right here with American built equipment, same as we build our military infrastructure, military grade election systems. And in the meantime, till we get back to that, because we can't go to it right away, hand count, paper ballot, counted where it cast. No multi-day voting, one day, get it over with.
Well, we did this up until 2012. 2012. Up until 2012, we for the most part across the country counted our own ballots, right? And yeah, you had voter fraud and you had harvesting of ballots, you had all the normalized ways that you could cheat. But that leads me down to the radical elements. These are not, the elections in our country were not stolen per se, in my opinion, not stolen by China per se. They were funded by China. But these were actors inside of our own country. You had John
Well,
Polo.
let me say it this way. Huh? We're not in disagreement, but let me say it this way. You had collusion with people inside our country, inside our border, inside the election system here. No question about it, because they were going to benefit locally from whatever happened so they could get their people in power. But China, as an act of war, and this is an important element, attacked America to get control of America in a covert manner through the elections and put people that were favorable to them. And not just China. Remember, China is a branch office for the banks out of London, city of London. Not just one bank, but that little conclave. They're the ones that control China and all the trade. China, its leadership, its military, it's running the city of London. That's a hard thing for most people to get. Well, they're our friends. The city of London is the banking capital planet. You think of Basel, Switzerland. Well, that's just where they settle the accounts. You have other projects that are going on, but at the end of the day, it's that small conclave of banks. In fact, people get confused on this. The British royalty, for example, when Queen Elizabeth was alive, he'd have to go to the gate of the city of London. The old Roman wall is there, where the Romans had an area that they occupied. She would have to go to the gate of the city of London, and then she had to take her shoes off, walk through the gate, curtsy and bow to the mayor of the city of London, kiss the ring, kiss the ass, whatever you want to say, every year, once a year. Why is that? Because she had to show obeisance to the true power behind the throne, including the other royal families. So if she's having to kiss the ass of the mayor of London, who's in charge? And those banks, the city of London is different than London proper that you're thinking, most people would think of. It's this conclave of banks that are there that leverage power across the world. Because of course, if you can't get your banking transactions, things like that, they own you. China's being run by the city of London inside there. It's a globalist operation. And those globalists are using China as part of their tool into these various countries, Serbia, Venezuela, Cuba, Honduras, those locations, including now Brazil, South Korea. Oh my gosh. That's why.
And that just happened in South Korea. So
well,
same thing. You have, it's endemic of what's happening across the world.
They put the president of South Korea in prison for opposing the election fraud. The same thing they did in Brazil with Jair Bolsonaro, which of course we had the film here. Did you get to see the film?
I did not yet. I got in yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
I want to see that next.
September, we're going to replay it.
All right.
Okay, it's not open to the public, but I'm going to do a private screening right back here in Vegas at this same location here at the 800, September 10th through the 13th. And we'll have some different subject matter, different speakers. I don't know if it's possible.
Well, I'm headed to Washington on Sunday.
Are you in Washington on the 27th? You know, I have a private dinner in Washington on the 27th. You're invited. Okay, very private. Get to Matt. So let's get you in there and look at it. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. All right.
No, I think President Trump is. He probably knows more than I think he does. There's so many different theories that are out there, and during 2021, 22, 23, 24, going all over the country, the systems are all the same. And as I start looking at the systems in Australia and New Zealand, Germany.
I got to tell you a funny story. Okay, hold on. I apologize. So, Jen and I are in Thailand. I'm getting ready to leave. I've said for a bit I need to go over to New Zealand. I need to go to Australia. A couple things. So I'm literally 20 minutes from getting in the van to go to the airport. I'm going down to grab a couple munchies to put them in a baggie so I can have some food instead of airplane food. There at the hotel there at the airport. And as I am climbing into the elevator, I had said something. There was a gal trying to get away. Said something, and a moment or two of silence, and this guy says, "Oh, that voice seems so familiar. Do I know you?" Turns out it was one of the politicians out of Australia that is out of office now, but he's a very politician in Australia. And he says, "Yeah, I've been following you. I know who you are." So we go off. He has his friend from New Zealand with him, and we ended up having a very fast 15-minute breakfast. But the problems in Australia, it's in this vote fraud zone. We know that
The software was built in Serbia.
but the fraud, as far as how the elections are actually managed, they have the same vote frauds in Australia as we have, and in New Zealand and other places. So
Yeah, so what was interesting about that is that, I don't know, 6 weeks or so ago, somebody sent me the manuals for Providence.
running the whole way servers there in Serbia.
The same. The EMS system is all, the architecture is all the same.
Yeah, in fact, that's what we had some of the speakers talking about today. Underlying architecture, even what Ed Solomon was talking about. The systems are different brand names. They have supposedly different software, but when you look at the algorithm, it's the same basic way that. So
Yeah, I mean, the entire system in all 50 states is fraudulent.
Yep.
They can pick and choose at any time. They can pick a mayor's race. They can pick every race, and they don't have to pick it, and they don't have to steal them all, because you can't boil a frog if you just.
Well, they don't have to, because they've already put the vote in other ways with, remember the testimony about Boomer, that they believed internally that they could switch 15 million votes just by the way that they tune their search engines. When you go on to a search engine and look for information, that they can flip 15 million votes just by the way they do the search engine. Well, if you have 150 million votes, that's 10% of the presidential election. That's the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no but. I mean, I think we have to become laser focused. In my opinion, we have to become laser focused on, and we already have all the evidence, right? Would you agree we have all the evidence? But when President Trump sat down with Kristen at Meet the Press, welcome, she said, "Well, you haven't been able to show us, and you haven't shown us the evidence."
Oh my God. Okay, hold on, stop. Moments ago, one of the people that deals with the president directly, Martin Rodriguez, was huge in this whole thing, with Patrick Michael. So he had one of the key intelligence agency operatives that is actually doing the rest of the work for the president. Totally classified, can't even tell Martin who's doing some of the prosecutions. He said, I know you can't tell me anything. He just said this on the stage moments ago.
Yeah, I met Martin in 2021.
Yeah, he's a very close friend. He said, I know you can't tell me any details. You can't reveal anything to break a confidence. But he was asking one of the people that is briefing the president this stuff. And he said, can you just tell me, are we on the right track? Is what you're seeing right now in your investigations from the military intelligence side lining up with what we're presenting? And how close are we? And this person talks to the president every day, said, well, everything you have is great. It's on cash. You only have 5% of what we have. In other words, the stuff that's going to the president behind the scenes, what we hearing right now in the public, and even what's going before the grand juries right now, within a Justice Department side of the prosecutions, 5%. So from the military side of the investigation, radically information. We have the detail. And that is coming. There's a tsunami of information coming over the next many months. And those people who think that maybe it's going to take years for most of the critical sectors now. We're in the window now. Tsunami's coming. I put this, we're like in a cat tooth storm condition, category 2. And it's blowing up right now, moving to 3. Before it's over, within the release of information later this year, we'll be in a Cat 6. It's going to be that dramatic. And everybody just needs to realize that even from, your audience is pretty conservative. Most people are.
Well, it's about 40% Democrats, 60% Republicans.
But
they all
even
feel
there-
that they've been cheated across the board.
Am I right? Let me ask you a question. Even though you have a lot of Democrats, they're the Democrats that are, I would say, pretty honest in that they don't exactly. They don't see things exactly the same, but they're not un-American.
Right.
They're not Marxists. They're not communists. Look, I got to tell you. Let's flip the questions. There is so many Republicans. I'm a Republican. I'm Reagan Republican. So, but I can't even. Don't put me in the same room because they're just they're un-American. It's beyond retarded. They're sold out somehow. They're just in it for
John Thune, Mitch McConnell.
There you go.
Lindsey Graham. I know you can walk down the line. Lauren Boebert. People that are captured.
So the reason I even kind of push on that a little bit, it's not even right this second to save the country. It's not even a party issue. We're moving into a phase. We were attacked. We were attacked by China specifically with, high table, above the table, whatever people out of the city of London, the banking people. They tried to take over our country. They succeeded to a certain point. They didn't fully succeed because, as I've told audiences all along, even back in the 2021 election, Trump never ceded control completely. He kept nuclear command. Almost nobody understood that time. And now he's coming back. He's making statements like, I was 45, 46, and 47. I don't want to take credit for it. When they raided Mar-a-Lago, they were looking for the biscuit, which is the nuclear code. I never got that. He never had nuclear code. And so we're learning these things now. I was saying it all along, but I'm learning that now publicly, and it's consistent. And the reason is because this is not about a policing action. Trump's taking the hat off his policeman hat over Justice Department, the administrative side of our country, because we were attacked externally. In order to save the country and save the vote and everything else, it's going to take more than an action in the Justice Department, more than a policing action, is my opinion. And that's what the speaker is saying. In fact, Peter Tickton right across the room here.
Yeah, he's my attorney.
He said the same thing. He said the same thing yesterday when we were up on stage. He says, the only way we save this is you cannot get the authorities.
You can't persecute or prosecute enough people either. So you can't get hundreds of thousands of people through it. And I believe it's hundreds of, at least 100,000 people.
Well, remember, and this is something forgotten right now, but I'll remind your audience. In the federal court system, we have indictments that have been handed down. They have to be recorded. They're on file. Even if they're secure, they're secret indictments. They go on the record as a seal indictment. So we have right now like 750,000 sealed indictments that are still active, ready to be served right this second. Every single one of those sealed indictments. Now, some of them could be the same person on multiple indictments, different federal locations. But every one of those indictments could have up to 99 people on it. So it's not 750,000. So see from those couple that are on those things. Some of it's related to coming into the U.S. You're not a citizen and voting. Some of it's related to other things within the money fraud and all. And by the way, you know who you need to get on the show? Get Rick Saga on the show. Have you had Rick Saga on yet?
No, who's that?
Oh, gosh. The healthcare fraud here in Nevada. They tried to set him up. I'll tell you something. Your audience isn't aware of it. The largest art theft in American history occurred right here in Nevada, and it was stolen from him. He had all this Chinese vases and art. $500 million in art that he was going to send out on tour. You know why they went after him? Because he's conservative on Trump. Las Vegas Metro PD never even made any kind of referral to the feds in the proper way. It's a huge deal. If it was $500 million, it's huge. But they also tried to set him up, have personal knowledge of all the details that been involved. They tried to set him up and said that he was involved in this healthcare fraud. All he did was he owned office buildings and rented it out to doctors. And then some of the doctors were involved in building stuff, the healthcare stuff. They didn't arrest the doctors, they arrested him, put him in jail like he had done something. Well, you need to get him on the stage or on the show.
Yeah, I would love to. Just give me the
Rick's
information.
here.
But he's the one in Texas.
He's right here.
Oh, he's in Nevada.
He's right here in Nevada.
Okay.
He's running for office here in Nevada.
And Tim also, Tim is a Barton from Texas. SEC and DOJ came in and took $400 million from him. I was talking to him yesterday just about how rotted the system is. I mean,
I got. There's nothing I can't make public yet. I got a guy. I don't even want to say where he was at, but actively FBI, CIA, DEA all stole from him about $5 billion. And even threw him in prison for a period of time when he was complaining. Went out, a couple guys came in the house, pulled meat out of the freezer at his house. That's a very wealthy man.
Yeah.
And took the meat, stabbed it, threw it in the swimming pool. With his wife standing there, says, "That's what it looks like. It's when you stab somebody and throw their body in the pool." So as the pool got there, and these were active people federal agents. And that was to facilitate movement of money to Iran, amongst other things.
Well, what about, speaking of that, the president shows that there's a fund set up of $300 billion with a B, for restructuring and restabilizing Iran. President Trump's only in office for another 2 years, can't run for another term. Who comes after him, number one? And two, what's the chances of that $300 billion being abused and creating another slush fund like USAID has created all over the world?
Well, I fall in the camp that things we're going to have some pause here in order to buy a little more time to get things sorted out. That's why you have to have military intervention. And you'll notice that the president never talks about the midterms with a date. He talks about the midterms in a generic sense because it may not happen on time.
Well, I actually don't think it's going to happen on time. I don't mathematically, I don't think it can. And there's other indications that show that he's watching elections in multiple states, including Colorado. I think that I have a pretty good gut feeling about things that are going to be related to the people that ran Dominion, ran Smartmatic, ran Clear Ballot, TSNS, those. So, but it does lead you to believe that at some point, President Trump is 80 years old. He's going to step out of that role. Somebody else going to step in it. Is it Marco Rubio? Is it a?
Let me just say this. We may not have yet seen the person who steps in to replace Trump. But let me also add this. You'll never get another Reagan.
Yeah.
You'll never get another Trump. Okay. You can't, you have to understand there's a divine component even on this. We wouldn't even be here if there wasn't some divine component. The person that shows themselves able, faithful, true to follow in. I don't think they're on the agenda yet. But more importantly, let's think about it a little differently. I actually don't want to trust this to just one person.
I don't either.
This is about, this group. Look at the people we have here. This is arguably as a audience, one of the most powerful audiences, maybe the most powerful. Down through the people that are here, they're all movers and shakers and all individuals. The way that we get past this is with so much vigilance. We were accused of being vigilantes over at MSNBC.
Yeah.
We have to be vigilant about what's going on. we have to own the moment so that no one politician or individual is able to take us off point. So really, this is about the population reasserting its authorities. You know, it wasn't a politician that got you the Magna Carta. It wasn't a politician that got you the Declaration of Independence. It wasn't a politician that got you in the Constitution. It was groups of citizens who got certain legal authorities and then took command of the situation. I think you can't imagine for me what the country's going to look like after we displace the fraudulent people in power, expose. Look at what Trump did. I don't know if people even caught this. The leak at the Situation Room. What was that leak about? They were talking about the Epstein.
Yeah,
and
that was a separate.
that what Trump did was say 7 words. Release it all, put it all out. Okay. He was being briefed. He didn't say, well, I don't want this to go out because it's gonna hurt this. They're telling Trump is listening. They say, if we allow this information to be released, and Mr. President, you're telling us you want to release it. That's why they were there in the Situation Room. Trump said, put it all out there. Everybody said that multiple times. You have agency people standing there, military people standing there, people out of the State Department standing there, telling him, you can't do that. No, you'll take down 3 governments in Europe. You will take down 2 presidential dynasties. Okay, you just can't do that. You got to understand the consequences. And so
you have
people
Pam Bondi say that it would basically collapse the government if it released on the Epstein thing.
So then you turn around, what does Trump say? He trusts the people, not just the United States, but other countries around the world. Put it out there. We're big enough kids to hear the information. We already know that we have a bunch of criminals. They may be political, monetary criminals. Now we find out they're sex fiends, okay? Against children. Put it out there. That's what Trump did. Because he trusts the judgment, ultimately, of the American people to get it right. And what he's not going to pass the baton solely to another person. He's going to pass it back to the people. That's what this moment is about. And then whoever we get that replaces him, he's not his own man completely. He's the people's man. He better follow what the people want. And we will be alert and awake enough that we stand a chance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Hey, I've got a lot of people here. I've got, to finish the conference out. I have Mark Cook up there right now. So I stepped away because I know his material pretty well. I wanted to support him. But one more question. What else you got?
That's pretty much it. Again, my biggest, this last 6 years has been it weighs on me.
Yeah.
And we have the information that you provide, the information that you like Jeff Lundberg, Mark Cook going across the country. So you have some institutionally knowledgeable and capable people. And then you have a group of people that are in the middle of it that have created all this chaos, that are not capable and not knowledgeable, that create theories and things like that. So how do we separate the wheat from the chaff?
But I think, you know what? It's already happening natural. I was mentioning just a moment ago to the audience. When I first came in hard in this current phase, I've been on this since the 90s. Okay. We were watching stolen elections in the 90s. I did Whitewater and somebody had all sorts of things. But there was all sorts of people that were on the playing field. It was a free for all. We've had this intervening period of years where we have had a chance to see who's right, who's doing stuff. Time has been our friend. And a lot of people have gone to the wayside. In fact, it's like there's some Judases in there. There's some people that just weren't fully who they said they were giving information was false, etc. They just didn't know. They thought things were really it. and they didn't really have the Rosetta Stones like that. But as time has gone on, you've gotten a chance, cream rice is in the top type of thing. You've had a chance to see who the real players are and who the wannabes are. I know you've had that in your own experience. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm being honest, I've given 6 years. And I ran a $140 million company. I don't really have an appetite for any of the stupid anymore. I've walked around here and talked to a few people that this person told them not to talk to me, and that person said not to talk to me. I've had people
before you and I ever first talked.
Yeah.
I had people, oh yeah, it's like Robert Davis said, I had people, no, I can't talk to him. I had that over and over. And I'm kind of like, no, I'll make my own mind.
I'm the only legitimate guy that ran a big company that got involved in this and spent millions of my own money. I mean, Mike Lindell took me for $3 million. Another guy took me for $2 million. I spent $10 million over the last 6 years, right? And my friction in all of this is that I've been like this. I've been the guy that came forward. I was the first guy to come forward. I was the one that took the most punches. And what happened to Tina, I watched that all happen. I said, do not, whatever you do, don't get on that stage. And you saw what happened to Tina, right? And so you have.
I was not behind that. I didn't know, I don't really talk about it much. The equipment that was used there, I paid for it. So at the end of the day, I was aware of stuff. When Tina got on stage, I didn't know she was in town, and I was there. Okay, and I was like, oh. So
my point is that it's just, because I'm competent, because I'm a real guy that has done real things in my life. You've done real things, and because I don't have any patience for the stupid or the I don't know what you call it, incompetent. And it's over 6 years, I've had to kind of go these ebb and flows and learn with the punches. I just got to a place where I feel like, all right, I've given enough. I mean, it's President Trump's turn. Last night, I was just talking about this. I never believed in Q, never thought it was real. I sat down last night, talked to a bunch of people who are like, Joe, you need to research, go down the rabbit hole. So I did for 6 hours last night, go down the rabbit hole. And I woke up this morning after 3 hours of sleep, and I was like, gotta be kidding. Like in 6 years, I spent no time on it. Because I thought that I could use my own talents and push things across the finish line. Then you start reading all the things that have happened. I'm like, okay, maybe there's a plan.
Yeah.
Right? But the pain of the last 6 years, the betrayal, is a real thing. And the people walking around and saying that I take credit for this, and it's like a high school, right? So I've now gotten to that place where I'm like, why? Why am I even doing this?
No, hold on.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to say, Joe.
And people talk shit about me to everyone.
I know.
Like I can't even get the news in Colorado or even in Texas. They wrote this huge article about me. I can't get my name out of their mouth. Is it because I'm lying about something, or is it because I'm the truth teller?
You're at the epicenter. Okay, no, seriously, you're at the epicenter. You're close to the target. The flak's gonna be heavier.
Yeah.
I had a relative that was in the cockpit of B-17. It was a B-26, and his friend who went through flight school with them grew up in the same town. They flew together, and they're flying on a bombing line, and a piece of flak came through the windshield and killed him instantly. It was instantaneous. There was no warning. They knew they were in a battle zone. A lot of great folks. In fact, he turned around instead of it was on their 25th mission, last mission. They go home. He stayed. He went 2 more full cycles in the B-26. I believe he did more missions in B-26 than anybody else, and he had done the most missions of anybody, or at least until in World War II. Because the survival rates were very low, and he wanted the other guys to survive. He didn't feel the luxury of leaving because the younger kids wouldn't have the experience that he had. Look, you've got the experience. You've been in this. Even the survival after all the attacks and to stay viable, and I would say even more importantly, you mentioned it a second ago. Yeah, when you've been in combat for a while, you get a little bit jaded, but you still got to be human. You hold it together. We're so close now. Yeah, a lot of the dust is settling, and things that weren't clear, you weren't wrong not to say fixate on Q and stuff like that. You held your own, held your credibility. You stayed in the fight. Like so many of us, you put massive of your own money into this to hold a position. I got that. But as things become clearer, even that one revelation, even last night, even to be here, or somebody says you got to do this again to get that contact, very worthwhile, because all the work that you've done, all the work that these other people, it's just now coming to a head. To have you still viable and willing to be in the fight and to start, you know, as we're starting to pull these things together, that's the moving stars. And just don't allow it to make you jaded, which you're not. And you may have a few battle scars. Yeah. I'm a little weak in a couple spots. I can feel the twinge once in a while. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you're actually truly jaded, because you're not. If you were, it doesn't mean you're not a little crusty, but you know, but you're not a jaded person. You're still willing to have. You were willing to do that research last night. You're not so crusted over.
No, because I'm a walking encyclopedia of real information, worthless information, but real information.
No, it's not worthless, because you know what? Here's what's going to happen. 5, 10, 15 years ago, you're still a young guy, 25 years from now, there's going to be people still trying to understand this moment in history. And there's going to be all sorts of people want to tell you what happened that don't know shit about what actually happened. There's a number of us that were there, that saw it in person. Nobody can change that story. That we need to be there to kind of help people understand what this moment is about, so it never ever happens again. Okay, and so relax. If this is coming to you, you're going to be vindicated so much, so many different layers and ways. Even
I think the dangerous part for me, the part that makes me mad, is look, I know I'm a warrior, and they've called me an anti-Semite, a homophobe, Islamophobe. They've said, I've been called a liar. I've been called all the things that I'm not, right? Yeah. And none of the things that I am. Yeah. Well, but hold on. Right? So it's kind of it's a two-edged sword, because reputations get built by people in this movement that have taken away from me what was never theirs to take.
Okay,
and out of all the people, help
you out here. The problem is, we want to toot our own horn a little bit and get a little love. No, hold on.
You don't.
It's in your soul. You at least want to be vindicated a little bit.
I want to be vindicated.
Right.
That is true. I want to be vindicated.
And that's a natural thing, because you didn't do anything wrong. Think of Tina. She didn't do anything wrong. And they attack her. But this is all coming full circle now.
Yeah.
And if you say it, it sounds self-serving. But I think that you won't have to say it, because it's going to be more and more and more obvious who the real good guys are.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Who put real, sweat and tears, blood, life into it, careers, everything. And there's actually, it's not a small number. There's a lot of here represented here who have done that. You're one of them. I'll be there to say the truth as it happens for you.
It's hard to look at Tina and see what she went through, and then come to the realization that it took a Democrat to get her out of office.
Well, let me clarify one thing. Let me clarify one thing. Why did Polis do this?
He wanted off the hot seat.
Well, it's more important that the people don't know this. You know what Trump did? He cut off so many vectors of federal money going into Colorado. They were starting to heat up with smoke. Things weren't working right. He understood that he literally had weeks before Colorado was going to run into monstrous problems. And so, even though he had all this pressure not to do anything, leave Tina there to die, he understood the mechanics of the wings falling off.
Yeah.
We're running out of fuel. The headwind is so much. that he just had to do it. He didn't do it because he loved anything. He didn't do it for mercy for Tina. He didn't do it for even the president, except that Trump had numerous calls with him and said, we're going to shut this down. I'm going to ask him to shut that down. Colorado's in deep trouble, and they already have huge income issues with taxes like that. So he didn't do it for any other reason than that Trump was about to shut the down completely from everything federal. They followed their face, and he did that to keep that happening. So it wasn't a Democrat that got it. It was Trump.
I know.
The optics, I get it.
This is the jaded part of me.
I get it.
And I'm not jaded towards President Trump at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he did pardon Tina Peters. He set it up, but it just.
As you see the rest of what happens over the next weeks and months, you'll understand better that he couldn't pull the trigger too hard, too fast. This is much bigger than so many.
That's the stuff I got 6 hours of diving in last night. And I went, you gotta be kidding me. Because then you feel stupid.
Well, and if you have somebody, no, I don't.
He goes 6 years, never looked into it. Then all of a sudden you look into it, you're like,
It was hard.
Yeah.
You had to set aside some logic in order to do that for how the has been working.
Yeah.
All right. I've got to get back to my audience here and help them out. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being my camp counselor and my send me a bill, laying on the couch, getting the advice. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Team effort, okay?
Yeah,
you're a huge member of the team. We don't pull you out every minute, but when we need a guy to come out and kick the ball, okay, you can left sucker, you can put it between the posts, right?
I do want to say this. Who did it better? Check out the shoes. Who did it better?
Oh shoot, dude! I've got to go get my snake skins out or something. I mean, you nailed it there. Bro. Okay, here's what the problem is with those. So I had a beautiful set of boots that were crocodile boots, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm wearing, I had a fairly expensive suit, custom tailored pants, right? Doggone if those boots, the scales would catch the hem at the bottom.
Yeah.
I just been walking on the hem.
Yeah.
And it was pulling right off. It just ripped it off. So some of the boots are, I enjoy these because they're just comfortable when I wear them all the time. But I probably got a dozen pair of boots. But yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I like is the texture and the color.
Yeah, that's what I bought them because nobody else had them. I was like, anybody have those? They're like, no. I was like, I'll take it.
And the only other thing I would say is that I'm kind of a pointy toe one because I like to stick right up their ass sometimes. So I don't know. Those there, you'd probably, if you kicked them, they'd end up on the moon or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Love you, Joe.
Love you too, brother.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for everything you do.
All right.
What is that? Paracoup. By the way, you got Peter kicked in over there.
There you
Peter
go.
say hi.
Did we have fun yesterday on the stage? You were so fun yesterday when we had you on the stage. Really, it was beautiful. So
did you get to watch me yesterday or?
I did, and it was amazing. But I always enjoy it. I walked up and sat down next to you afterwards.
Yes.
All right, guys, listen. I'm checking out Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Tune in more. Give us a thumbs up. I love you guys, and again, you're the ambassadors of truth. You get to decide.
Mentally, you're still there. You can remember all that stuff. Gosh, I mean, just fired it up. All right.
What happens when you quit drinking? All right, take care.
Peter, how did you enjoy that? It was fun on the stage yesterday. I got to tease you a little bit.
Thanks, Damon.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through.